Hello. So today's title is Change of Remedy. Now change of the remedy will be indicated only if the symptomatology indicates a definite change in the picture and no longer corresponds to the original picture on which the first prescription was made. That means the change occurred at the base. If, for example, upon which symptomatology sulfur was prescribed, for example, now it is no longer remaining. Then the physician should think the remedy is to be changed. The previous topic what I have studied, the remedy is not changed. The remedy remaining the same, only the potency is increased or decreased as per the demand of the case. But now the name of the remedy is to be changed. Now in many notebooks of organon I have seen, change of the remedy is written in a separate title, what is not true. Change of remedy means that may be change of three types. So one, this may be complementary. Second, it may be a cognate. Or third, it may be the change of the plan of the treatment. Now regarding this, Boric writes, a further review of the case is required and a new remedy is to be chosen when, number one, the mental state shows an embarrassed, helpless state instead of tranquility of improvement. So look, Boric writes this thing. You know Boric as a writer of clinical materia medica, a writer who does not pay that much of interest upon the mental symptoms. But that is not true. Here we are getting, he writes, the first thing is mentioned. Mental state shows an embarrassed feeling, helpless state. So that means it is the time that the remedy is to be changed. Number two, when no change of any kind follows the first prescription after waiting long enough for reaction, which is, however, a variable matter according to the chronicity of the case and the character of the remedy chosen. The shortest period to be allowed in a chronic disease being 1 week and preferably a longer time. That we have described earlier. Now the change of remedy depends upon the chronicity of the case and character of the remedy chosen. What we said, there was a phase where the symptom was absent. Return of the old symptoms. Now return depends upon what? We said the susceptibility of the patient, we said the nature of the medicines. Where is the reference? It is the reference. The reference is from Boric, it writes clearly. According to chronicity of the case and character of the remedies chosen, the phase of amelioration or the weight depends. Now, Kate writes, avoid haste. All things oppose haste in prescribing. In a grave disease, haste is a common error more frequently with the second prescription than the first. So do not haste. Do not do anything quickly. Wait and watch. So the first prescription, it's okay. But the commonest error we do in second prescription that we feel some hurry to do something. As Kent writes, many doctors suppose that a diphtheria demands a medicine immediately because something must be done. You have to do something, I have to do some good for the patient. So we prescribe quickly. Kent tells you should not do. Wait. He writes, wait and observe. The first prescription may not have been well chosen medicine. And then the first prescription may not have been well chosen medicine, and then it becomes necessary to make a second effort. If the remedy changes the general symptom image and the general state of the patient is growing worse, the question then comes up, was the prescription only similar to a part of the image, or is the disease incurable? So these are the golden word that is coming from the masters. They were not the writer people, they were real prescribers. And whatever hell they have written, it was purely from their clinical experience. There is no fabrication made. It is what they have seen, they have written, they have admitted their mistakes and errors, and they have said something to us that we should not repeat the error done by them. So this is general symptom image change and general state of the patient is growing worse. Then the question comes, whether the first prescription was similar to the part of the image, or itself the disease is incurable. So fantastically it is written. So knowledge of the disease may settle this question. You must remember, in aphorism 3rd, Hahnemann writes, if the physician clearly perceives what is to be cured in diseases, that is to say, in every individual case of the disease, under bracket, knowledge of the disease, comma, indication, bracket is closed. The first thing, the knowledge of the disease. That from the knowledge of the disease, I can conclude it is incurable entity. Or if it is not incurable entity, then I can understand my mistake in this case as a physician. But suppose such a change of suffering comes after the first prescription and the disease is undoubtedly curable, then conclusion must be that the first prescription was not the true specific and the true image has not been seen. If it is incurable, then no issue. And the incurability that I have judged from my knowledge of the disease. If I know the disease is not incurable, then I have to admit my mistake. Now we'll enter the first part of the change, that is complementary. Now what is a complementary? We conventionally tell the remedy which completes the action of the previous remedy is called complementary to each other. In managing a chronic sickness, the remedy that conforms an acute experience of the illness is worth knowing, as very often its chronic may be just one that conforms to its symptoms. Now let us see what is the inner meaning for that. A detailed knowledge of remedy relationship is needed. In chronic disease and sometimes in complicated acute diseases, it is quite frequent that a complementary remedy or a series of remedies in sequence are needed to cure them. Now this is from Kant, remember. So in chronic disease and sometimes in complicated acute disease, one single remedy may not at all be helpful. It needs series of remedies. So as the people say, the single remedy will be continued forever in a chronic case or as well as in a complicated acute case. So that is an entirely wrong concept. At least Kant is not telling it in anywhere. Actually nowadays homeopathy is going with the name of the great people without studying the original literature of these great people. Something that has been imposed without reading the original work of the masters. This state is grave. Being a homeopath, you don't believe even me upon me. You read by your own. The books are available. Only the patience and the understanding of reading books should be developed in you. Otherwise everything will be a routine. Now see Constantine Herring. Herring pointed out that the second remedy must bear a complementary relation to the first. He is generalizing. Second remedy should have some complementary relationship with the first remedy. He is giving the example, you read. But Lycopodium is apparently accurately chosen, but fails to act in spite of repetition and change of potency. Chelidonium will often start the curative process. Herring writes, if you are not getting desired result from Lycopodium, even after repetition, even after change of potency, now forget Lycopodium, Chelidonium will bring out the curative process. Now, this is also the case with antimatter and antimars, sulfur and solanum and many others. Relation, reaction or intercurrent remedies have been discussed in detail in cases where particular remedy fails to produce the desired effect. So he is giving the name, a series of the remedies. Now they are writing, Calcarea is natural chronic of belladonna and nostocs. Nectamine sustains the same relation to Apis and Ignitia, Silesia to pulsatilla, sulfur to aconite. Now have you ever thought, say Calcarea with belladonna. Now if you see Calcarea and belladonna, Calcarea is very slow, belladonna is too much active. Exactly opposite to the disposition. So pulsatilla is hot, Silesia is chilly. Sodium is chilly, sulfur is hot. Medullum is hot, but Puja was chilly, but they are complementary. They are exactly opposite in their nature, but still they are complementary. What is the reason of writing in that way? That you have to find. You have to understand the concept there. Now on writing, Kane writes, a chronic pulsatilla is thirsty. That means Kane tells that patient is no more pulsatilla. He has or she has been already shifted to Silesia. You retake the case. You obviously find that changes. They are evident and they are clear. Now, when pulsatilla has been of great service in a given case and finally cures no more, while the symptoms now point to Silesia, the latter will be given with confidence as its complementary relation has long been established. You have to understand the meaning. Look, these came from the clinical experiences of the masters. Now, unless you study the cases, ample number of cases of Kane you will find in lesser writing. Ample number of cases, short cases, you will find of Boning-Hussain in his lesser writing. You must read these books. You at least will study the cases. What they did actually. And then only will understand the complementary cognate followed by relationships. Now let us see. So this is from Kane dissect. Now, caution. Do not give Calcarea during paroxysm. But after the voyage has been rubbed off by belladonna, give him that constitutional remedy that is complementary to belladonna, which is Calcarea. We discussed. Many remedies associate after this fashion. Then there are series of remedies. We know this is the chain of great Hahnemannian antishorics, sulfur, Calcarea, and Lycopodium. Now Allen, what he writes? In the relationship In the relationship of calcarea, he writes, complementary to belladonna, which is acute to calcarea, we know, acts better before Lyconax phosphorus solution. It follows nitric acid, pulsatilla, sulfur, and see the indication if the pupils are dilated. Now when sulfur follows calcarea, when the patient has got a dilated pupil, a clear-cut indication is followed by kali bichromate nasal cutting. According to Hahnemann, calcarea must not be used before nitric acid and sulfur, and that may produce unnecessary complications. We have to study this. This relationship is not a very easy chapter. And in Bonning-Ushan's characteristic materia medica, under carbovegetally, list of complementary is given as China and Calicar. Concordance in Bonning-Ushan must not be ignored. Who says? This is said again by Master Kent. You have to study concordance. It is a lesser writing, we'll say. If chance comes to, I will show one day the method of second prescription by Bonning-Ushan. This is mathematical, entirely mathematical. No guesswork. Simple, by the process of calculation, you will get the second remedy. This is so fantastic. And as you all know, we have been taught, Kent was in opposition to Bonning-Ushan, not at all. This is a philosophical distance, no personal enmity. So where Kent felt Bonning-Ushan is good, he was there to tell Bonning-Ushan is good. And he writes, concordance in Bonning-Ushan must not be known. One should study. So there may be acute complementary of chronic, for example, belladonna calcarea, or maybe chronic complementary of acute, that is calcarea and belladonna. And the cyclical remedy we said, that is sulfur, calcarea and lycopodium. Now few remedies in series. These are from Elizabeth Wright, few from Kent. We know sulfur, sarsaparilla, sepia, ignitia, natrum, sepia, pulsatilla, salicia, fluoric acid, arsenic, thuja, tarantula, Kent writes pulsatilla, salicia, calisal. Now see, pulsatilla, salicia and then calisal. Now where from calisal is coming? Now we have to study the chemical analogous relationship. You will see in Allen's Materia Medica many where it is written as they are the chemical analog for this. So for example, they write in Podophyllum, it is a vegetable marker. Calimuratica, it is chemical analogous to pulsatilla. So there from we can get this concept. We have to study it. And then only you will feel why we have been directed to follow the chain. And Elizabeth Wright was a very close associate to Kent and Kent himself. But this is Kent who is writing. This is a follower, a blind follower of Kent writing. There is complementary. There are complementaries. So now we'll enter to the second part of change, that is the cognate. Now the word meaning of cognate is similar, alike, related, equivalent and associated. Now some says relationship of remedies with similar action but dissimilar in origin. It is as per Farrington, he told or he gave the name concordant. Now the medicine always leads to